Good morning. Let me start with what may feel like a bold claim. Right here, right now, we can see the future. I don't mean some sci-fi future where we take holidays on Mars, although for a few people who are contemplating an IPO with a $1.7 trillion valuation, even that may feel less distant. Nor is this a claim based on AI, despite London Tech Week being in practice a discussion about artificial intelligence in almost every room and on almost every stage. I mean something different. The relatively predictable global conditions that business has relied on for several decades are gone. Geopolitics is reshaping the global economy. Patterns of trade have changed. The future that I can see, that we can see, is a multipolar world with greater political, geopolitical, and macroeconomic uncertainty. We also know that technology, and in particular AI, is no longer simply an enabler of growth. It's increasingly part of national strategy, industrial policy, and international rivalry. And hence, there will be a greater scrutiny of where technology comes from, how it is powered, and whose interests it ultimately serves. If the geopolitical future is very different from the geopolitical past, are there lessons that we can learn from the tech past? And what does the last 20 years of digital technology tell us about what is being referred to as the intelligent technology supercycle? I was one of the founders of Deloitte Digital, and in the middle of that last supercycle. Digital was above all a new channel, a new way to connect with customers and with each other. The promise was powerful because it allowed two things at once: greater reach at lower cost, as well as, when done well, a more personal and convenient experience for customers. We talked about disruption. Existing business models were replaced or optimized. New business models were created. AI changes how people connect and how work gets done. It's a much bigger change, a much greater disruption. Any cognitive task that a human performs inside an organization is now, at least in part, a candidate for augmentation, substitution, or reinvention. As physical AI matures, the same logic will extend into the physical world. And this means that every organization in this room is sitting on top of a redesign question, a reimagination question. How should work happen? When is intelligence no longer limited to people you employ? Where do you want human judgment, speed, accountability? Where do you need the best intelligence? Where do you need something smaller, cheaper, faster, more deterministic, or more controlled? Which brings me to my central question. What role will Europe and UK play in a multipolar world that will be increasingly defined by hybrid intelligence? The words that sound most loudly when I answer this question are urgency and agency. Connected to these two words are two traps that I think we should seek to avoid. The first is excess caution. If we are too cautious, we miss the opportunity. We congratulate ourselves that we avoided risk while the rest of the world learns faster. We regulate well, but we create less value than we should. We build faster horses when we should have built cars. We need to recognize the urgency and be bold and decisive. The second is passive consumption. The dependency I mentioned in the title of this talk. We can move fast and still be passive. We wire intelligence into every part of the organization without thinking hard enough about cost, control, resilience, data, or impact, without thinking about sovereignty. We consume a new form of intelligence rather than learn how to deploy it alongside human intelligence to enhance value. We act, but in doing so, we lose agency. The way forward is to recognize that we need to deploy intelligence intelligently. This is a leadership challenge of the AI era that is only just beginning to be talked about. Missed a slide. Moving on. We should be confident. London and the UK in general is not waiting for AI to arrive. This city, this country, is one of the places where AI has been shaped. DeepMind was founded in London in 2010. 6 years later, Lee Sedol, AlphaGo, beat Lee Sedol in Seoul. Go had long been seen as a frontier problem for AI. AlphaGo combined deep neural networks with reinforcement learning and search in a way that changed the understanding of what machine intelligence could achieve. Then came AlphaFold, the same concept to address a scientific problem, predicting protein structures with a level of accuracy that changed the field. DeepMind is a source of pride. However, the more important point is the ecosystem that formed around it. It created a gravitational center for AI talent in London. Researchers, engineers, founders, investors. It helped establish a culture for world-class AI to be built here. And it sits in a longer British line of scientific and computational capability. And Alan Turing at Bletchley in Manchester, Geoffrey Hinton's formative years at Edinburgh and Cambridge, the strength of our universities and the combination of maths, engineering, life sciences, financial services, and creativity that brings this country uniquely together. In 2025, UK AI companies raised 7 billion in venture capital, the highest share of UK venture capital on record. And the UK continues to lead European venture capital in early 2026. In the first quarter of 2026, more capital was raised in the UK than France, Germany, and the Netherlands combined. There are more than 6,500 AI companies in London alone. We have the capital, we have the talent, we have the founders with ambition. But as the CEO of a private equity company said to me last week, we are a distant third in terms of venture capital deployed. I want to dig into that a little bit, probably more than I did when I was with the CEO and pushed back on him, or pushed back on the concept like I should have pushed back on him. The frontier model providers are building broad capability. Their product is intelligence, and it is demonstrably the best product for tasks that require expert-level reasoning and long context. But that is not the signature of every task in my organization. And I'm sure the same is true for your organizations. Across London and Paris and Berlin, founders are building AI close to the problems they are trying to solve in their regulatory contexts, constraints, and expectations of accountability. Their product isn't intelligence, but rather the application of intelligence to an outcome, to the creation of value. And one of the things that levels the AI playing field is that much of the ecosystem is open source. This is the foundation that the founders are building on. And the gap between the frontier models and the best open weight models can be measured in months, not years. This is what powers the startup flywheel. Founders and engineers can build on the open foundations and combine them with domain knowledge to create precise, relevant, and accountable solutions. So let's come back to being a distant third. The Bay Area attracts 10 to 12 times as much venture capital as all of Europe. However, directionally, half of that spend is consumed by the voracious appetites of the frontier model providers for GPUs, for data centers. If we compare on a like-for-like basis of startups employing intelligence to solve real-world problems, the VC funding shrinks to something more like 5 to 6x, not 10 to 12x. Added to this, in my experience, European startups are more frugal than their US counterparts. They make a pound, a euro, a dollar go further, potentially shrinking this gap more. Our opportunity is to become the world's leading place for applying intelligence to problems that matter for society and for today's organizations. We have a proud history of practical innovation. Frustratingly, we also have a history of an inability to scale. A US corporate is significantly more likely to engage with new innovative products from young organizations than their British or European counterparts. This gap impacts the competitiveness of our corporates and the health of our startup ecosystem. We don't have an issue with innovation or capital, we have a problem with enterprise adoption. The challenge to the people in this room is to change that, and in doing so, take back agency in a multipolar world. Slides seem out of sequence. But don't mistake consumption for a strategy. There's a risk that we measure the wrong thing. Many organizations are measuring AI adoption through activity. Prompts submitted, license provision, tokens consumed. These measurements tell you about usage, but not about the value that is being created. This distinction should be familiar for those of you like me in professional services. Our clients want outcomes, and that's certainly what I want to deliver as a professional. But our industry has been powered by the hour. In the last few years, that has started to change. At Deloitte, our commercial models are increasingly to reward the outcomes we deliver, not the hours we work. But just as we see a real change, a new technology arrives that is metered by the token. So let's be careful not to create the same problems in a new form. Consuming tokens, just like billing hours, is not the same as creating value. We're already seeing this. There are rising concerns about token spend varying dramatically from budgets and being disconnected to the value created. You have read about the stories from Uber, from Microsoft, and others. The answer is to link consumption to value and to recognize that the industry won't do this on your behalf. You doing so is part of maintaining agency. If new forms of intelligence improve quality, lower error rates, improve customer satisfaction, or help create a new product, then we can have a serious conversation about value. If all you can say is that token consumption is rising, we're measuring input again. Added to that, if you look at the benchmarks and the capabilities of the different models, then it does not appear that a winner-takes-all paradigm is playing out. There may be clear winners in specific domains or specialist tasks, but across the spectrum, the market provides optionality. We need to tap into what's powerful about the frontier platforms selectively and thoughtfully, while retaining the option to use other forms of intelligence, including human intelligence, where they are better suited to the job. Blending the best from both sides of the Atlantic to get optimum results, avoiding the dependency trap that I talk about, and retaining agency. So what does agency look like in practice? Which I think is what this slide is. Agency is about making deliberate choices about architecture, infrastructure, models, data, partners, costs, and outcomes. Let me give you two examples. Siemens has expanded its partnership with NVIDIA to build what is described as an industrial AI operating system. NVIDIA brings accelerated compute, AI infrastructure, simulations, libraries, models, and software. Siemens brings industrial domain knowledge, engineering depth, their own hardware and software, customer relationships, and a clear understanding of what good looks like in the physical world. This approach is globally connected, but not passively dependent. It draws on the best of technologies and anchors it in domain expertise, customer need, and real industrial outcomes. The second example is a Deloitte example. At Deloitte, we thought hard about how hybrid intelligence can transform enabling functions, finance, procurement, HR, to make them more efficient. These functions are full of different kinds of work that require different types of intelligence, and hence would be served badly by a single tool. Our response is a Deloitte product called Zora AI. It's an agentic platform and a set of specialized agents, all built with a blend of NVIDIA and open source software and connected to an open weights model. Each agent is designed for specific enterprise work inside those functions with data, controls, and transparency that the enterprise environments require. This approach has enabled us to work with our clients to reimagine their finance function using the best of our IP. In both these examples, the same principle applies. Agency comes from being connected to the global capability while remaining clear about your own outcomes, your own economics, your own data, your own responsibilities. The next phase of AI leadership will look different from the first. The first phase has been dominated by model capability, who has the best model, the top benchmark, who can reason most effectively, code best. Those questions matter, but they are not enough. Inside every organization, you have to allocate intelligence. Sometimes the right answer is a frontier model, sometimes an open weight model. Sometimes it's a small model, fine-tuned for one process with super low latency. It's very easy to think about AI as a broad thing. We should think about it much more like we think about human capabilities. We allocate different people to different roles within the organization. The leadership challenge is to intelligently apply that allocation of intelligence. A customer-facing system that needs to respond in milliseconds is not the same as an expert advisory tool that can take minutes or even hours to respond. A compliance system that needs repeatability and auditability to every time give you the same answer based on the same data is not the same as an ideation assistant where you are looking for different ideas each time, and so on. To make this concrete, because intelligence allocation is something that lands on real people in real jobs, I'm going to use a Zora example. A year ago, the FP&A team, and for those of you who are not in finance, like me, that stands for Financial Planning and Analytics, I believe, part of the finance function, at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, spent the best part of a week assembling an operational reporting pack that was central to the running of the monthly operational reporting meeting. This was a meeting that enabled Marie Myers, the CFO, and her team to make the operational decisions required to run HPE. Today, an agent and one person generates the information to run this meeting in less than a day. This was a process that involved over 100 people previously. Now at HPE, artificial intelligence is used to gather the information, to draw out the insights, while human intelligence is used to make the operational and increasingly strategic decisions to drive the business. The artificial intelligence in this example is provided by an open weights model on HPE infrastructure, and the value created far exceeds the predictable costs that are incurred. This is what intelligent deployment feels like from the inside. The organizations that win will be those that learn how to combine human judgment, AI, domain expertise, proprietary data, workflow design and governance into systems that produce better outcomes for the people in front of them, the customers, citizens, the patients, the employees. It's also where the UK and Europe can lead. If intelligence is the raw material, value will accrue to those who understand the problem, the workflow, and integrate the technology, the intelligence, to deliver responsible outcomes, to deliver outcomes responsibly. This is the focus of the European AI startups, and it is why Deloitte with NVIDIA yesterday launched something we're calling the Adopt 100. It is a mechanism to connect the outstanding AI startups that we have in the UK and Europe who have a real problem with enterprise adoption with the client problems that they are building to solve. Deloitte curates, if you like, the client problems because of our understanding of the challenges our clients are facing. NVIDIA curates the AI startups, and collectively we bridge the gap. We allow the innovation, the agency, the capital that is flowing into this city to deliver results in this city. Yesterday when we were launching, it was depressing to hear the people on the panel with me, two panelists. We had a panelist from Poly AI and a panelist from DoubleWord. They both said they target the US as their primary market because US enterprises are more willing to buy innovation. They both said that they want to be in the UK and build their businesses here. So, that's a challenge. Which brings me finally to trust. Trust is sometimes discussed as though it is a soft issue. Most of you already know that trust is one of the hardest economic assets to build and one of the easiest to destroy. One bad outcome at scale, one revelation about data being used in a way that people did not understand, one AI system that serves the platform more than the person, and trust can quickly disappear. In a more fragmented geopolitical environment, trust becomes more important, not less. Businesses need to know their technology partners are resilient. Governments need to know that systems are accountable. Citizens need to know that AI is used in ways that are fair and transparent and ideally aligned with their interests. This is a real opportunity for London, for the UK, for Europe. If we can combine the world-class innovation that is here with a tradition of accountability, we have a leadership position worth taking seriously. The AI future will be built by those with a clear sense of purpose and who choose the right forms of intelligence for the right tasks, who remain connected to the best capability in the world as well as the best capability locally, and who build systems that the people inside and outside their organizations can trust. This is my challenge to every organization in the room. It was my challenge to the organizations in the room yesterday when we launched the Adopt 100. Don't let AI happen to you. Don't retreat from it either. Engage with it seriously. Build the capabilities to make deliberate choices. Use the frontier platforms where they are the right answer. Use open models where they give you control and value. Build with startups that understand your world. Redesign work around outcomes. Measure productivity, not tokens, not just activity. And remember that every one of those choices eventually lands on a person, a developer, a nurse, a finance analyst, an engineer, a citizen, you, us. In this new reality, agency matters, and agency will belong to the organizations that learn how to deploy intelligence intelligently. Thank you.